Hey guys, good evening everyone. Hope you're having a fine day. So just gonna wait a couple more minutes. People are joining in slowly. So yeah, let's wait a couple of minutes. Listen to some non-copyrighted music and yeah, a couple of highs there. Hi Tarun, hi Teja. Yeah, been some time. Okay, let's get started. Cool. So, what are we looking at? This is the first session of our another YouTube workshop, which is going to be about building a real-time chat application using Node.js and SocketIO. For this workshop, you do not necessarily need to know what Node.js is or what SocketIO is or even what JavaScript is, right? This will be a very beginner-friendly course, and it would only require you to know a little bit of HTML and CSS. That would come in handy, but you can still make progress in this one. I already see a question if HTML, CSS, and GS is required for this session. HTML, CSS could come in handy, especially in the third session. But if you do not know, I suggest you can still be in the session and learn JavaScript. That would still be great. Thank you guys for answering the same question in the comments as well. Okay, yeah, welcome again everyone. So let's take a look at the agenda that we have planned. So first we're gonna get our hands into learning what JavaScript is. We'll do a little bit of hands-on about JavaScript. Then we'll take a small break for the Q&A or any other stuff we have. And then finally we'll go into learning DOM. And once we have a conceptual understanding of what DOM is, we will dive into DOM manipulations, which basically involves, making changes to your UI, basically programmatically. So that's what basically DOM manipulation is going to be. We'll look into that later soon. Right. First of all, let's talk a little bit about JavaScript, right? JavaScript is, especially now, is a really popular language, especially since the inception of Node.js, which allowed JavaScript to extend its capability to beyond browser. Even because decades before Node.js came, the JavaScript's power was very limited to just within the browser, and as well as its functionalities as well. Since then, JavaScript has evolved a lot, but people's thoughts have not on that. People are still think that JavaScript is not that language that you can use out of a browser. It's only something you use within the browser, and even only for basic stuff. They still do not understand the power of JavaScript. To give you a look at how powerful JavaScript is, I have prepared a small app for you. So this is the one. Let it load. Yeah. So we have this little app here. What it does is, this is an app that has the power with JavaScript to convince your crush to say yes to you. No matter what the question is, they cannot say no. Let's see what happens when we try to say no. What happened to my app? Let me check. Not sure what's wrong with Code Sandbox at the moment. Anyway, we will come to this joke later. But what I'm trying to say is JavaScript has evolved a lot since then. To give you just an example, take the very platform you're watching this stream on, right? This entire thing is built JavaScript as the core of it. This app is able to maintain so many users at the same time, people watching it, right? It's able to handle so much load, so many components going around, a live stream, so many chats incoming, all of this is able to handle, right? So this cannot be you will not be able to handle such things if it was just a simple language, right? So that's why it has evolved that much. So that was just one example, right? You can think about take any web app that is evolved, and you will see that it's built with JavaScript, because there is not any other languages that you can build web apps directly with. Okay, cool. And another thing I want to show you is how the job market and stuff is regarding the JavaScript. So let's take a look at LinkedIn jobs very quickly, and let's try to find jobs for JavaScript. I have already searched for it. Now you can just see just within India there are more than 100,000 jobs available for JavaScript. Now people tend to not go into JavaScript because they are all into the trends. They are following mostly going blindly behind the trends, such as people would likely to be into artificial intelligence. Let's look at how the job market is for that. You can see the JavaScript jobs were at least 10 times more than this. Now, if you're really passionate about AI and ML, sure, go ahead. If you want to get it, if you're not, then don't. But do not just follow because it's trending or it sounds cool, right? Because an average AI engineer is not going to be compete with an experienced full stack developer. He's likely or a talented full stack developer. This talented person, even though in full stack, is going to earn more than an average AI developer. That's how it works, right? It's not only the field that determines your pay, but it also how skilled you are in that. Yeah. So that's a little bit about JS. There's a question here: how long this session will go? It's going to last for at least 2 hours at max. Okay. Now that's. Okay, now let's get started with learning about JavaScript, right? So we'll go into the hands-on mode now. So I request you to go ahead to Code Sandbox.io. This is where we're going to run our JS apps or JS code on the cloud. Okay, I'm going to click create. This will create vanilla. Now, before we dive into what learning JS is, I would suggest you join this session through our platform. So you can go ahead to app.duolearn.tech. And once you're in that, you can click on continue learning, or if you're a first time user, you're likely to have to sign in. After you sign in, you have to enroll now. This would be an enroll now button if you're signing as a new user. Then you have to click on continue learning. You will see all the sessions of this workshop over here. So just click on JavaScript and DOM, and it will show these exact session that's going on in the app itself. You can chat here. And the reason I would request you to use this is because we are going to have quizzes for this for this session, and those questions can only be attended if you're on this platform. Okay, there's an active quiz. Okay, all right. And the next interesting part about being here is that you will get these points when you score, and you can see that on the leaderboard. The leaderboard has points, you can see it over here. And yeah, and the top person on the leaderboard is going to get a Duolearn kit. So yeah, do attend the quizzes, because it will also help you understand. It will also help you know that if you understand the concept better. Okay, now that's out of the way. Do join it. I have posted the link in the comments. Okay, now let's get back to the JavaScript part. Okay, I'm going to remove whatever we have been given from Code Sandbox. Okay, out of the way. Now, any programming languages. Okay, there's a question. What is Duolearn kit? Duolearn kit is it's just a small merge kit that has the branded T-shirt, Duolearn branding T-shirt, a notebook, a custom designed notebook from Duolearn, and some custom design stickers as well. So all of this, one of the person who's at the top is going to get this delivered. Okay, let's get started. Now, any programming languages we take, they are all going to have some same building blocks that they all share. Now, so in this session, we're going to look at those building blocks. What are they, and what are they in JavaScript as well? Now, the first building block that we think of in any programming language are variables. And variables are used to store values. They can be used to store different kind of values. Now, these different kind of values are called data types. JavaScript as a language has two kind of different data types, like at the higher level. One is the primitive and non-primitive data types. So we'll first learn what primitive data types are. So there are like around 6 primitive data types. We're going to look at least at 5 of them. Okay, the first one would be called string. Then we have number, we have object, undefined, and Boolean. This is the basic data types we're going to have a look at. So this way of writing, putting 2 forward slashes is called commenting. And commenting is when you write something that you want to convey to people who are reading your code, and these will be ignored by the compiler, right? And we all know what compilers are. So they're basically the piece of software that's going to compile your code and run them. Okay, so this is the way you can write single line comments in JavaScript. Now let's see how we can create a variable, right? So there are first going to look at using var. Okay, you say var, and then you give the variable name after a space, then you give another space equals 10. What this here means is that I'm assigning 10 to a variable name called a. and this first word var is called a keyword, okay, or a token. This basically means that we're trying to say something, such as here I'm creating a variable here, and this is the variable name and this is the value. So this is how the compiler will understand. When your line start with var, the compiler is going to know you're going to assume or assign, create a new variable and assume something to it. So 10, just by looking at it, we know that it is a number. So this is of type number. How do you know a type of anything, right? Without actually looking what we have assigned. So there is a way to know that. So it's called using the type of operator. So remember, type of is an operator that whatever you give next to it, it's going to give you the value, or or what's the type of it. Now okay, there are a couple of questions, let me answer them. Yes, this video will be available on the app as well. And which app this is? This is Code Sandbox. Please create an account on Code Sandbox or sign in, and then please create a sandbox over there. Okay, where were we? All right, so we have this operator, but we have no way to see what this app operator is giving back to us, right? So that's why we have a statement called console.log. Now we know in lot of programming languages we have something called print, right? Or print, similar terms like that. So this is very similar to that. Whatever you give inside these braces, parentheses, you're going to get that output in a console. Let me tell you what I mean. Let's just put hello Duolearn, and let's open the console. You can find the console over here, and we can see that it says hello Duolearn. So you can clear the console like this as well. Okay, now let's see what the console log of type of A is coming as. To replace this with type of A, and we see that type of A is number. Okay, it's saying that the type assigned, the value that is assigned to a variable A is of type number. So this is how you can know that, yeah, this is the number that is assigned to variable A, or what is the type assigned. Now let's see the other kind of variables or data types we can use. Let's go and do a string. Name equals to Dev. Okay. Now, whenever you're declaring a string or passing a string, you have to make sure that it is enclosed in these quotes, either double quotes or single quotes. This is how we know it's a string, basically. If you do not give a string, the compiler is going to assume that you're trying to access some variable named Dev, but there is no variable like that. So when you give the quotes around it, that's when you say it's a string. So a string is basically either a character or a bunch of characters one after the other in one single quote. Now let's console log this. Okay, we're getting string. The first one is number, then we have string. The next type we're going to look at is called Boolean. Let's say is today Wednesday is the variable name, and we gave it true. All right. So there's another thing we should talk about is how do you name your variable, right? That's also important. You cannot use spaces in between them, because as soon as you use spaces, the compiler is going to assume that you are going to give, you're breaking or specifying more commands or something like that. It's not expecting that after var you give spaces. So this is how you can declare a variable that has multiple words. You can also use underscore like this. You can also use numbers. Okay, but you cannot start your variable with number. That's an error. And it is JavaScript convention to have variables in this way. This is called camel casing, right? Because each word is capitalized except the first one. Because that's why kind of how a camel looks, right? In the beginning, it has its neck below, and then it has its trunk at the top. So it's basically how a camel would look, and that's why it's called a camel case. What was that? Oh, okay, we have a new subscriber. I wish I could pronounce that name, but it's Japanese. All right. Next, we can do console log. Just copy paste this, and we have boolean here. Okay, now let's see what undefined is. So generally undefined means that something is not there. Okay, so it's like var type of hello. See, it comes as undefined. The case is about undefined. We're going to learn more about in the upcoming sessions. When we actually code out our application, we are likely to see this come up here and there, and yeah, we will then learn more about it. But generally speaking, you almost never do like this. You never assign undefined directly. If you want to signify or like say that, hey, this variable has nothing in it, there is a special data type for that. It's not a data type, it's an object actually. So let's say nothing is the variable name, and you can assign null to it. Now if you try to take a look at the type of it, it's going to say it is an object. A lot of people consider this as a flaw in JavaScript. It kind of is, and there was a there was a request to make this return another like this, how it's returning the type of boolean. They wanted it to return as null, but that was not considered, so it still returns an object. So we will look more into what an object is, and yeah, more into null in the upcoming sessions as well. All right, so now it is time for a quiz. Now, as soon as you sign in, and you'll be watching this session over here. Like this. I hope you have logged in, because a quiz is about to come up. All right. I have submitted the quiz already. I hope you can see the quiz and answer it. Okay, I can see that some people are actually answering, and you can see this leaderboard getting updated in real time. I'm going to remove myself from the leaderboard so that I already have enough kits. So let's see how we're doing. Okay, people are okay. Cool. All right, so I'm gonna disable the quiz now. Yes, please give the quiz right now because yeah. Okay, so let's talk about what the quiz was about. So the quiz has the question, what was the type of 23, right? So whenever you do type of is going to return a string that says what kind of type it is. Remember, the type of will not return the type itself, but it's going to always return a string which actually tells what the type is. So a type of a, let's see what that means, because type of a is already a number. So let's see what type of a is. To clear the console here, and type of a is string. You can see the string being logged twice. Type of 23 is a string. I hope some of you got the answers right, so that's good. Let's move on. It's okay, Saket, you can try the next one. You don't see the, if you do not see the quiz, do try refreshing it once, and yeah, it should come. Wonderful. Cool. Okay, now that we have learned this much, let's go on learn a little bit called control flow. Okay, so we want our language or our program to not just go linearly executing all the things, right? We want it to consider stuff, right? If something is this, do this. If not, then do something else, right? We kind of want our program to work like that. Okay, let's say my program is a bot that gives us a greeting. Okay, and we want it to greet it in such a way that if the name is my name, it has to tell me hello master or something. And if it's name of my pet, it just calls it hey a pet name, something like that. And if it is neither of those, it just has to say hello. So that's the kind of flow we want our program to work like. Okay, so I'm just gonna minimize this console a little bit, and let's go ahead. So how do you structure your program to follow a certain flow, right, based on these conditions? For that, we have something called if-else statements. As it says, it will execute some stuff if a condition passes, else it might do something else or nothing at all. So let's see how we can actually make this work. Let's say, so the syntax looks like this: if name, and then you have this. Let's say for now in this I just say true, and I want you to log it is true. Okay, and now you can see that we are getting it is true logged. Now what happens here is, whatever you give in the parenthesis, it has to evaluate to a boolean, right? Whatever the statement you give inside it, it has to evaluate to a boolean. So true itself is a boolean that is true. So when the condition in the parenthesis is true, it's going to run whatever the code that's inside these inside these braces. Okay, now let's see how we can compare some conditions to stuff. Okay, and so I'm going to say we want to make sure that if the name is Dev, I want it to console log something else. So how do you compare stuff? So you have to use triple equals like this, and then what is the value you want to compare to. So let's say I want to compare it to Dev, and it says it is true. Let's change this to something else. So since this is my bot, I want it to call me maybe, I don't know, hello boss or something, and it says hello boss. Now the next thing we can do is else. So if the condition in the if fails, the condition that the name is not Dev, the control flow for the language is going to be inside here. It will execute the code that's going to be in here. So what I want it to do is just want it to say hello. Okay, now let's clear the console and change the name and see what happens. Okay, and it says hello. I have no idea who Rakesh is. Cool. Yeah, and the next thing we want is if the name is the name of my pet, I want it to say hey there, something like that. Let's say my name of my pet is I don't know, Charlie. I want it to say hey there. And we have to end it with an else. Right, okay, and it should say hello hey stranger, because we don't know who this person is, right? And we see that hey stranger is getting logged. Now in order to get the name, in order to get the console log hey, we have to set the name to Charlie. So let's try that, and it says hey. And in order to get it to say hello boss, we have to change the name to Dev. So that's basically how a control flow works, right? It checks here. If this fails, it goes here. If this fails, it goes here. Okay? So the else block is basically if all of the conditions in the above fail, they'll automatically come to the last one, because else will not check for anything else, because it will just be anything else. If everything else fails, else will run. Okay, so this is a little bit about the control flow, how you can build control in your language. The next thing we want to take a look at is called functions. Functions are basically a way for us to reuse a code, because if we wanted to run this at multiple places, let's say this is only for greeting that I'm checking if the person is me, a pet, or someone else. But what if I wanted to check this at multiple places? Right? What if I wanted to check this at let's say at login or at home page? At a lot of places I would have to check what kind of user is this. So in those scenarios, it's easier if we have a function that I tell it that hey, who's the user, and it actually tells me who it is, instead of me instead of having this set of code having everywhere. So a function in JavaScript is very similar to how a function would look mathematically as well. You usually have something called f of x or something, and then it would return you y. Now this basically means you give some input to the function f, which is an x, and it returns y, right? Okay. Functions in programming language also have similar concept, except they might or might not take in the input, and they might or might not give you the output. What they will supposed to do is execute a certain line of codes, at least. We're a new subscriber, thank you. Okay, and yeah, now let's see how we can write a function. To begin writing a function, you have to use the keyword function. That's when you start saying to the language, hey, I'm about to define a function. So then you have to say, give a name to the function. So I'm just going to say hello. Okay, once you give a name to the function, you have to add a set of parentheses and then open braces. Okay, we'll come into how we can or why we have the parentheses later. Now what inside the braces is going to be the function definition. That's what basically will execute whenever you call this function. So I'm just going to copy paste this stuff, this if else chain we have here inside the body of the function. Oops, I pasted it twice. Okay, so now if I close this, clear this console and refresh this, you see that it's not being called. The greeting that was earlier, it's no more appearing in the console. So that's because it's inside the function now. The code in the function is passed, is basically kind of validated, but it's not executed. Okay, so in order to execute these lines, we have to call the function, right? Because you have a function definition, it will not just run. So in order to call a function, you just say hello and you open and close set of parentheses, and you can see it says hello boss. Okay, now let's come to the definition here. You can see that it has an X, right, in the mathematical definition. How can we do that here? So in order to define input to your function, you can define them here. So what I want is person name to be the input to my function, and I want instead of comparing it to this string, I want this function to compare it to the person name that I actually give it to it. So I'll say person name and person name here, and finally, okay, yeah, that's it. Okay, and instead of console logging this thing, I want the function to return something like y over here. So you can do that by using the keyword return. So I want you to return a string called hello boss. I want you to return a string called hey when the name is my bad. So it should be something like if this equals name equals to the person name, Dave equals to person name, or my pet name is going to be Charlie. I should have changed the left hand side earlier, but yeah, this is how it's supposed to be. It should return hey when the person name that I pass is Charlie, and it should return hey stranger when the person name is neither hello boss or Dave or Charlie. Okay, now this function is now expecting us an input, right? A person name. So we can pass it like this. So I'll say Dave, and let's see what happens. And we see that it's not being console logged because all it's happening here is this strings being returned, but we are not actually console logging it. So the things that function returns, we can store them in a variable. So I'll say var greeting, say hello, and we'll console log the greeting like this. You can see now that it says hello world, and we can also see that it's starting to look a little bit cleaner because we removed this console log again and again from here, and we're now just returning the string, and finally we're logging it, right? So that's looks a cleaner approach to me, and this variable is also now not needed. So further what you can do is you can make this extendable. If you can also set what your pet name is, so I'll say Charlie and my name is Dave. So instead of comparing it like this, you can do if person name is equals to my name, you say hello boss. If the person name equals to pet name, you say hey. So you can actually, there is no difference between having this either on left or right. It's just the way I've been coding that. Yeah, I want the inputs to be on the left, and the things that don't change, and on the right, the these kind of stuff. So it's okay, you can have it on the either way, and it would work. Okay, and yeah, now there's a thing here to compare things in JavaScript. You can either use double equals or triple equals. So when to use which, right? So using triple equals means you're also comparing the types and as well as the value. So it makes sure that the type and the value are exactly the same. They're both identical and same. If you use single quotes, it will only compare the values in such a way that it will ignore the types. So it's kind of safer to use triple equals. Okay, now that I'm seeing comments about the quiz getting auto submitted. Sec. Yeah, I think it's because the quiz is deactivated now. The earlier quiz, it shouldn't be available right now. You can attend the next quiz though, don't worry. Okay, let's see what's the other quiz we have. Quiz 2. Okay. Going to enable the quiz now. Okay, I hope you can see this. If you're logged in, should be able to see it like this. Now I know I did not explain this what its dynamic type language is, but let's see if we can make it out based on what we have learned so far. Okay, I see the answers rolling in. Vishal Gupta is at the top. My name is Teja is at 1. So yeah, obviously we are programmers. Our leaderboard is going to start from 0. Cool. Okay, let's get back to it. I'll let the quiz be open for a while so you guys can answer it as well. Now, coming to the question, is it a dynamically typed language? So what does that mean, right? A dynamically typed language means a variable will never be tied to have a particular type of a particular data type. So what I mean is, so in here we're assigning is today Wednesday equals to true. You can do is today Wednesday equals to hello. It will still work. The is today Wednesday value is going to be hello and the data type is going to be string, right? Because it's what you call a dynamically typed language, right? Your values are not really tied to have this kind of data type only. So you can assign booleans to previously holding strings. You can do all of those things without any getting an error. Okay, cool. Yeah, with that over, let's get into the next things I want to talk about is the objects, right? A lot of things in JavaScript, or almost everything in JavaScript, is presumed to be an object, right? While under the hood it's actually what we call prototypes. We will not be diving into much more of the core JavaScript at the moment. We'll just be on the surface for this session. This will help us, get to the stage where we can build the app faster. So that's the purpose of these workshops, right? It is to help you get into tech, and yeah, just to give you a taste of what are the things you can build and stuff. Okay, now let's see how you can create an object, a really simple object. Okay, my bad. I didn't tell my name. Okay. Okay, a quick introduction, I guess. My name is Dave. I am a co-founder at Duolearn, and you are today's instructor for this session and for the workshop as well. All right, cool. So let's create a simple object. I'm going to create an object like this. I'll call it person. So you can create an object like this as well. This is one of the ways you can create object. So an object can have key value pair. Okay. So I'll show what that looks. It's much easier if you see it, and yeah. So name equals to Dave. Okay. So what we just did is we created an object called person, which has the key of name and has the value Dave assigned to it. So this is useful when you want to collect information that are related to one specific thing, right? So what I mean is, so for the person, you can put name Dave, and you can put the age as well. So let's say 0 as the age, and you can also put skills like this, and you can have multiple data types like this. Okay. Yeah, yes, Vijay, we are trying to go as fast as possible, but this workshop is designed to be for everyone, so please have a little bit patience. Okay, so you can have any kind of data type on the right hand side you want to give to the value for a particular key, right? And you don't necessarily have to put quotes for your keys. You can remove them as well. You will need to put the quotes when the key is not a proper variable, such as JavaScript doesn't allow a variable to have an hyphen, right? And let's say you have a key that has an hyphen, so you can say like this, secret key, and it will be 1 2 3. So this secret key, you have to have it in quotes, because just as it is, it will not be a proper variable name, right? You will get an unexpected token. All right. So now that we have an object, how can we access some stuff? Let's say I want to get the name of the person here. So how can I do that? So we can do console.log. You want the name, right? You can do person.name, and you'll get the name. You can see that Dave is being logged. All right. Then you can also do person.skills. That will give you this array. All right, now that we have used array here, let's talk about what that is. So an array is basically a chain of information, you can say, right, where you can store values at a single point without having to worry too much about the structure as an object. You can obviously have an array of objects or an object that has array. So all of these things will come in handy when we actually build the application in the second and third session. So let's create another array. I'll just call it skills as well. Just gonna put JS HTML or 1 to 3 like that. So you can have any kind of values in an array as well. Okay, and then you can also access, how do you access values in skills, right? So you'll say console.log. Let's say I want to get the first skill. You will have to do skills and open the square brackets, and you have to give which element you want in the array, right? So we have 3 elements in the array. So what if I want the first one? So if I say 1, let's see what I get. I will get HTML, because the indexing of array starts from 0. So 0 would give us JS. Okay, there's a question. Is this like JSON? Yeah, it does have a similar structure to JSON, except you do not have to have your keys in strings like this. In JSON, that is necessary. In JSON, you cannot have trailing comma like this. That's also not accepted. And JSON cannot take other things like a function definition or stuff. So that's entirely just for the data storing purposes. Okay, now you can also store functions in objects. So I'll say hello in this. So the function I've declared here, I've passed it as a value to a key here. So what you can do, you can console person dot say hello. You can call the function from an object like this. Oh, it's just hello, right? Yeah. So it says hey stranger here. So yeah, you can store a lot of things in an object like this. Okay, now what if you wanted to add more stuff to skills, right? You can do skills dot push, and push is going to be a function on the skills array, and you can add, let's say I want to add CSS, and it's console log skills at the end to see what we have. Okay, so we have CSS appended here, as you can see, CSS as the third element. Okay, let's see if this is the time for another quiz. Okay, so the next quiz will be on once we come to the Java DOM. So yeah. Similarly, you can also add more key and values other than when you actually initialize this. So in order to do that, what you can do is you have to do person, and you have to give square brackets to create a new key. You can say occupation developer. You can also use dot notation as well. There's no harm in it. Okay. And yeah, we will see more about how we can use array and objects. These are going to be play a central role in our application, like in the little chat app we're going to build right at the end. So it's going to use a lot of arrays and objects. So that's also the time when we are also going to learn more things about these concepts. Okay, so just getting to know them, about what they are and what are the things you can do and why they are, is sufficient for now. Okay, now is the time for Q&A and a little bit of break. Yeah, if you guys have any questions, drop it in the chat. I'll answer. Yes, they're only going to be, for this workshop at least, at this session, they're only going to be one question per quiz. Okay, while this break lasts, let me quickly tell you about Duolearn's platform, right? Right. So, if this was not clear already, we are an edtech company who are having courses on at the moment, 2 courses. So there's one for full stack and one for blockchain. So this full stack course has been so many times reviewed, its syllabus specifically, from both of our experiences combined, from me and my other co-founder Pawan. So we have combined our 7-8 experiences worth of thing and compiled this syllabus. Okay, and this has also been reviewed by all the people we know who work at top companies, who are also the mentor for this course, and it has been, like, modified based on the reviews as well. So this is the mentors we have so far. There are more who are joining on board. Then we also have hiring partners. So these are some companies that we have partnered with, who are interested, who are taken aback by what we're teaching and what's the platform, and want to hire from us, right? So these people will have exclusive access to your profiles, so that they can contact you if they find your profile. Yeah, if they find your profile good. Yeah. And throughout the course, you'll be building up to 10 projects, in which 2 of them are going to be capstone projects. So capstone projects will be little different than most of them. They will be encompassing most real-time stuff that people can actually use, that can actually solve some real world problems. Okay, so you can take a look at this course, and the course is going to be actually starting from January 1st. So you can, start a new year with a new course and see where you land, right? We provide a lot of placements, provide a little bit of placement support as well, and you'll also have dedicated TA to answer all your questions whenever you have a doubt of that. So if you have more questions, you can also check them out here. And let me also drop in a little something here. Okay, so there's another question. So for this workshop alone, for this session alone, we're running an exclusive thing, pre-booking time. So you can you get two benefits with this pre-booking. You can like book your slot for just 949 rupees, and then you can also another 100,000 rupees off on the 5,000 rupees that's showing on the website. So basically you're getting it for around 4,000 rupees if you pre-book now. So we're open this because a lot of people are showing interest and want to book the slots as soon as possible. So this is a way you can pre-book your slot. So the link has been shared in the chat. You can take a look at that. Okay, now let's get back to learning. Okay. Oh, and yeah, this link will not work. The pre-book link will not work after the session. Okay, now let's understand what DOM is. Yeah. So an easy way to understand what DOM is, you can picture a document, right, or a web page as a document, right? It is a document because it's a file that is simply being served to you. Essentially, it's kind of a document, and this HTML pages going to have a lot of components in them, right? You have sometimes your header here, an image here, and some text over here, right? All of these contribute to one HTML page. Let's assume that, and they can be represented in such way. So you have your let's say the document. This is the document. So this is how it will look. At the top, you have your HTML. Okay, and then you seem to have a header. Let's say it's a nav bar, right? Which is nothing but probably a div element. And again, you have an image, or you have a section, maybe that's again a div. And inside that section, you have two more components, an image and text. So those could be an img tag, image, which is an img tag, and then you also have some text. Okay. Okay, you have some text over here, which will be of paragraph tag. Now these are kind of connected in this way, right? You have HTML, and that has two things at the top, section and a nav bar, and inside the section you have image and text. So if you look at this from so the way to visualize DOM is, think of it as a tree, right? So this is a DOM tree. Each component you see on the UI is basically a node on this document, and you can access all of this node through JavaScript provided functions and methods, which is then nothing but what people call DOM manipulation, right? So I can write code to change the content of this particular text, and that's basically DOM manipulation again. So document is something that is attached to your JavaScript window. Windows again, you can assume it's a object, right? An object attached to your window. Sorry, so let's say a global variable. So let's explore what I mean. Let's take a website, for example. And if you open up your console, and just type document, right? You can see that my browser kind of highlighted the whole thing here, right? That's because the whole thing is a document, right? And I'll just press enter and see what we have here. If we expand it, we can see it shows us the HTML that all that here is. So you can see there's head, there's a body. It's similar to what the tree structure we saw inside HTML. In here we have two nodes. So similarly in here we have two main nodes, HTML and body. So if we expand one of them, we can see that still expands into more nodes. You can keep on going. You can you get to access these things, access this individually like this. So with the console you can actually change values like this. Obviously you get to see them here, but what if you want to do that based on some particular logic, right? So you can see a lot of things that are happening here. When I click this, this gets open. These are under the hood are actually a DOM manipulation, right? But happening in a different way because it's being used a library. Okay, now let's see how we can access some of these elements with DOM. So I'm going to use the console provided in the browser itself to show how I can access this. Let's say I want to access this button, right? You can inspect it and you can see that this has a class of this particular thing. Let's copy this class name and let's see. If we do document, you get all of this, but it also has methods that you can access. So I'm going to show one method which is get element by class name. What this method will do is it will fetch you all the elements that has the class name that you provide. Now this is the function, and a function can take arguments, right? So I'm going to specify the first one as the class name that I just copied and do this. And now you see that I get this HTML collection returned. So this is basically an array which has one item, which is the button we have just accessed. So when I hover it, you can see that it's being selected in the in my view on the left side. Okay, now we have the access. Let's see what are the things we can do on top of it. You can access its style. You can change its style basically. So I'll say style. Let's try to change the background to. All right, let's see if this works. Okay, so this was an array, right? So you have to specify the first element like this, and then now you can see the first element style being kind of previewed here. If I click enter, if I press enter, I can see all the styles that were given to this. Okay, so I'm gonna try to change the background color. So background color to red. You can see that the color kind of changed to red, you know, the background color. You can also change the font color. Let's change the color to white. You get so we get to see the color being changed. That is essentially how you can do it. So let's see what are the more stuff we can do, but this time we'll do it on Code Sandbox. Okay, and we'll explore all the other methods that we can use to to do DOM manipulation. Okay, so I'm going to build a really simple input, and that's going to take a name, and it's going to show that name, right? And we can clear that name. All of this with the plain JavaScript and DOM manipulation. Okay, so I'm going to clear all of this. I'll just comment it out for now. And so you can see that this JavaScript file is linked to the HTML file already. Okay. Cool. So let's build our input and give it a placeholder name and have a button that says submit. Okay, and inside in here I want my name to come here when I click the submit button. Okay, I want this to come inside a span element. Okay, this is where I want my name to come in. All right, so let's see how what we can do. So first thing, we wanna be able to detect when the button was clicked, right? How to do that? We can do that with the help of listeners. So listeners are kind of like functions that you can attach to specific events, you know, such as button click or button hover. All of these things are basically events which you can listen to and attach listeners. Listeners are again nothing but functions, right? So I'm going to write a function now. Let's call it on button click. What I want is at the moment I just want it to log that I was clicked. I just want it to log that for now. Now how do we attach this, right? So in order to do that, you have to first get the button. So how can we get this button? This has like very less means of getting, like being identified. So I'll just pass it an ID of submit button. I'll just call it submit button. Okay, now we have an method in DOM. So in document basically to get something by its ID. So I will go const button is equals to document get element by ID and the ID of the button, which is going to be submit button. Okay, and once I have that button, let's console log if you're actually getting that button. Let's see what we get. Okay, you can see the button content itself kind of getting logged in here. Okay, now we have the button. What we want to do is add an event listener to it so that when it's clicked, we get to know that it was clicked. Or we can do some other stuff. So add event listener, it's going to be click. So functions can also take more than one arguments. So the first argument you give to add event listener is what event you want to listen to, and the second argument is what do you want it to happen when this particular event happens. So I wanted to call the on button click function that I have. All right. So now let's see if this works. What just happened? Okay, I think I went to a different page all of a sudden. Okay. Yep. As we can see, the on click function is now working properly. And you can see that I was clicked is being logged. Now let's look at a few other ways we can query the elements. Okay. Now what we want is query the name input so that we can actually get the value. How do we do that? So on click, I want to get the input, const input. Oh, I forgot that I'm using const here rather than var, what we used earlier. So const is again another keyword you can use to declare your variables. So in the second session, we will dig deeper into why we are using const, not var, and why it's not a good idea to use var. So yeah, do attend the next session for that. So how do we get the input? So we can also do the get element by ID, but just for the purpose of it, I will show you the other way you can do. So we go to our input and we give it an ID. Let's say name input. Save it. Okay, and now on button click, you can do document get element by, or we can also use query selector. Okay. Now there are two. So what query selector does is it takes in any kind of query you give and returns the first matching element. Okay, because elements can have same classes, right? At that time you want to have query selector all. Query selector all will give you all the matching elements that a class that elements that have a class name, but query selector will only give the first matching element. So you want to use query selector all when you want to grab a lot of elements that have the same class or some other same attribute, but query selector when it's only one element you want to grab. So in order to grab something by ID, you have to specify like this hashtag, and what is the ID? It was name input. So this is exactly like CSS selectors, where you grab or you apply CSS to elements that have an ID. You use a hashtag, you use dot for a class name, and so on. So since I'm grabbing this name input by its ID, or like I want to grab it by its name ID, I'm going to use this. Okay, so now what I will do is I'll try to log the value of the input. Now grabbing the value is really simple. All you have to do is access the value variable like this. You should then log the value here. Okay, let's go to console and clear this. Let's type in something. I'll just say Dave and let's submit. Now we can see that Dave is being logged. So we were able to get the value of the input and log it to the console with the click of with this click of a button. Okay, what do I want next? I want to be able to apply. I want to be able to show this name inside your name or next to your name text. So let's do that. So I will give this span again an ID. I'll call this name, and what I'll do is I will do const, or I don't even have to store it now, so I can just do const get element by ID name. And now how are we going to actually set it, right? So you can do there is a key called inner text, right? So if you want to text the text inside of an element, you can do inner text. But if you want to supply some HTML, inject some HTML into inside an element, you can do inner HTML. Then you can pass in HTML, but yeah, you will still have to enclose it in the string. Okay, so our purpose is to just inject some text, right? So we'll do inner text is equals to whatever the name we got, right? It would be input dot value. So you can probably think how the objects methods are actually coming into play here, right? So we're only covering stuff we're going to need to build our application here. Okay, now let's see if this actually works. So Dave, submit, there, done. Cool. So there's a question, will we get notes on this lecture? No, but this will be recorded. I mean, it will be available in the YouTube there, so you can watch it. All right, so now time for a quiz. I'm going to enable a quiz now. Okay, let me deactivate this one first. Go. Okay, now time for a new quiz. Okay, what does query selector method written on the document? Is it the first element matching the query, or it's the query selector object, or all elements matching the query? Please submit your answers. All right, let's see who's at the top. So at the top we have Rachit Advaryu, then Satyaprakash, then I think it's Teja. Cool. So yeah, so let me show what the kit actually has so that you have an idea. First, array, don't comment the answer. You're supposed to select the answer in the app. All right, anyway, I was saying what the kit consists of. So first you have this textbook that we designed ourselves. So it has this bug slayer, sort of like a demon slayer thing, but you actually slay bugs. So you can get this, and along with that there will be a Duolearn t-shirt with its logo, and some stickers. Yeah, so there will be total like 4 to 5 stickers, and this note and that text t-shirt. Okay, how to participate in quiz? Please log into app.duolearn.tech. So once you log in, you have to like enroll in this workshop and come to this today's session. Once you're there, you can actually watch the workshop from there itself, or you can also watch it from here. But to attend the quiz, you have to be in the platform. Okay, now all right, so the next thing we want to implement is to actually hide the name, so I'm going to add another button here that says hide, and it should then hide the name. Okay, let's write the button. Okay, what we want to do is when we click on hide, the name should disappear. You see it's already being disappeared because the way Code Sandbox works is it refreshes the app whenever there's a change, so the value is kind of lost. All right, so let's get back to JavaScript file we have, and let's write another function that clears the value. Clear name, let's call it clear name, and we want to attach it to the function hide. So sorry, the button hide. Let's give that an ID, hide button, and we'll get the button const hide button equals to document get element by ID and to be hide button. And we're going to add an event listener on click, but the function it's going to call is the clear name as opposed to on button click for this button, right? For hide button, we're adding an event listener. For click, this function is what going to listen. Okay, so what do we want to do is we want to clear this name, right? The name that's going to come here. So we can just copy paste this, or we can create a function that says set name. It takes in the name and it sets the name. Whatever the name you give, it sets the name span value. So this span value, the text for this span, it's going to set it to whatever you pass it. So it will be name. Okay, and we have to call it over here, set name input dot value. So yeah, you can now kind of see how functions we can reuse it, right? We can use it over here, and at some point if you wanted to make changes to the function or like to the way it works, we only have to do it once and we do not have to rewrite it again and again. All right, so clear name, we want to set name to an empty string this time when we click on clear or hide. Okay, let's see if that works. So I'm gonna name, submit. Okay, working good so far. Hide. Okay, we were able to hide it. So that not hiding, that's clearing, right? So let's see how we can clear it actually. So in order to hide it, what we can do is we have to basically hide the element. So with DOM manipulation, you can also change styles of the elements, like we saw earlier how we did it on the Duolearn side, where we changed the colors of a button and its text. So we're going to do something very similar here. So say document element by ID name, its style going to change its display to none. So this will basically hide it. So it's still there, but it's hidden. Okay, let's see how we can unhide it as well. So it basically means showing it again, right? So for that we'd have to access what the display value is first, and we have to either set it to none or block based on the current value. So I'll say if style.display equals to none. So what we'll do is I think it's block. Oh, my bad. I'm assigning the value, right? Okay, so it's none, it should shows. Okay, so if it's not, then we have to set it, right? They've hide and hide. Okay, it's now coming here because the display type of span is not block, it's mostly like inline or something. Submit. Let's try inline block. Not sure. Yeah. Let's refresh. Okay, I'm just gonna get the next quiz ready as well. Okay. Okay, now the submit itself is not working. Let's see why. Let's see if we're getting the button. Okay, I think there was some reference error earlier. Alright, so let's try to hide it. So if it's none, it should set it to inline block. It's not happening, but block seems to work for some reason. Okay, it's not working either. Okay, let's see what this is. We have the name here and ID whose display is set to none. Okay, but if its a display is none, we should be able to set it to block. So let's try to debug this by logging what the actual value is when we click this. So we can do that style.display and see what we're actually getting over there. It's an empty string for some reason. Okay, so we'll put another condition. So if it's either none or if it doesn't have any property at all, then what we'll do is set it to block. I did this again. Okay. If I, okay. Oh, my bad. Okay, let's give a name. Input. Let's see if this is being called. Okay. So, okay, working now. So the issue was we were not comparing it properly with when the display was not set at all, because I would assume initially the would be empty, because probably the span would not have that display set explicitly for us to get it. But yeah, so that was a simple DOM manipulation. Now let's go on to the next quiz. Okay, see some comments. Website is not working properly. Yes, sorry about that. So the platform is still in beta, and like never had it tested properly. So yeah, you guys can let us know more feedback so we can improve that. Anyway, it's time for another quiz. Maximize your browser. It's if I maximize it anymore, I won't be able to code myself, kinda. Right. So next quiz. So the question is, which of the following hides the element given $sign represents the element found by a query selector method? So when you call query selector, and let's say that is this dollar is that return value of the query selector, which is basically an element, which of the following will hide that particular element? If you're not able to see the quiz, first make sure you are on the platform, you are logged in, and refresh it once. If none of those work, you wouldn't have to do this. This is the like last resort, is to log out and log in and then try again. All right, so let me answer this one. Okay, I see some of you guys submitted, it seems. So the first person is still Rachit. We have a new person who's taken the second position. Oh, actually, yeah, Teja got to the first. So this is a real-time leaderboard as well. Okay, so if you guys have same score. Yeah. All right, guys. So that's it for today's session. Uh, so we learned how to use basically basics of JavaScript, how to form control flows, how to do comparisons of variables, see the types of variables, what are the different data types. We learned how to write functions. Then we also looked at DOM, so we basically understood what DOM is, and how to manipulate your DOM elements, basically all the UI elements that you see on a website or in your HTML, how to manipulate them programmatically is what we learned in today's session. So tomorrow it is going to be about more about Node.js and SocketIO. So we'll be looking into what Node.js is and stuff, and what are some basic things we can do with Node and SocketIO. Yeah, I'm going to share the attendance link now. Just a second. Okay, got the link. Pasted. All right, so we have Teja at the top here, but let me tell you that the kit is given to who's like on the top on the whole 3 sessions. So this leaderboard is only for today, so there will be another leaderboard tomorrow that shows your total score in the workshop, in the whole 3 days workshop, and the quit will be for those who's at the top on the workshop leaderboard. This is a session leaderboard. This is the QR for your attendance. All right, so the session will be live for a few more minutes, so people can scan or mark their attendance. Yeah, thank you guys, see you tomorrow. Looks like someone was giving you the. Okay.